So today we are going to look at the remaining tribes and their inheritance that was bestowed to them by the Lord through Joshua son of Nun, as well as Eleazar the priest. The inheritance process has been long and arduous, and there has been many complications along the way. And there is some truly unfortunate circumstances when it comes to all these territories that they went to take for possession, yet they were filled with their enemies still. They failed to subjugate the land on so many occasions. And those people, that remnant, they are going to be a thorn in the side of the Israelites, as we'll see in future books. The book of Joshua 19:1, the second lot fell to Simeon, to the tribe of the Simeonites, according to their families, and their inheritance lay within that of the people of Judah. So this follows up directly after the previous chapter, and now we are on the second lot, and this is the tribe of Simeon. And we see that the location that they are to dwell is within the lands that were defined in Judah, that they are going to be within that portion of land. And we're going to see the details here as well as the cities. The book of Joshua 19:2. And they had for their inheritance Beersheba, or Sheba, Moladah. 19:3. Hazar Shal, Bala, Ezem. 19:4. Eltolad, Bethul, Hormah. 19:5. Ziklag, Beth Markabuth, Hazar Susah. 19:6. Beth Labath and Sharuhen, making 13 cities and their villages. 19:7. Ain with Rimon, Ether, and Ashhan, making 4 cities and their villages. 19:8. And all the villages around these cities as far as Baalath, Beer, or Ramah of the Negeb. This was the possession of the Simeonites according to their families. 19:9. Out of the part assigned to the Judahites was the inheritance of the tribe of Simeon, for the portion of the tribe of Judah was too large for them. Therefore the tribe of Simeon had its inheritance in the midst of Judah's inheritance. We saw Judah receive their inheritance several chapters ago, and it was a tremendously huge territory. Obviously, it was too big. And so now the Simeonites are going to dwell within that territory and take a portion of that land for their own inheritance, as we see here. And we have quite the list of cities that they received as well. This makes a lot of sense, because if the population density is too small, it would be very difficult to maintain or hold that land for a possession. They would be spread out too thin to be able to defend it or to be able to utilize it when it comes to the farming and the agriculture. It would all go back to nature, and that would also be problematic. So there's a multi-dimensional reason for these things, and there's probably more reasons beyond that as well. The book of Joshua 19:10. The third lot came up for the tribe of Zebulun according to their families. The border of its inheritance extended to Sarid. So now we're going to be looking at the third lot, and that is for the tribe of Zebulun. Zebulun, they were kind of middle of the road size as far as population went, and we're going to see the perimeter, we're going to see the cities, same deal that we have seen with the previous tribes. Let's take a look at that. The book of Joshua 19:11. Then its boundary went up westward and on to Maralah and reached to Debesheth. 19:12. And it turned from Sarid eastward to the border of Chisloth Tabor, and it went out to Debreth and on up to Japhia. 1913, then passed eastward to Gath Hafer, Jonah's birthplace, and to Kazin, and went on to Ramon Bending toward Nea. So in the translation that I'm currently using, which is the amplified version, it has square brackets that have additional notes from the translators, and they are referencing that this is the birthplace of Jonah. This was not something in the text, but it's a good time to have a reference to it. Now, the book of Jonah is a pretty cool book, and I can't wait to get there because it's very exciting. So that's why this is being mentioned here, despite that being very much after when this book itself was originally written. The book of Joshua, that is. And let us continue. The book of Joshua. 1914. The boundary circled on the north to Hananoth, ending at the valley of Iptael. 1915 included were Kathan, Nahal El, Shimron, Idelah, and Bethlehem, 12 cities with their villages. 1916, this is the inheritance of the people of Zebulun, according to their families, these cities with their villages. So there we have seen the inheritances of the tribe of Zebulun. And next we will be looking at Issachar. But before we go any further, there's some cities here that really stick out. One, of course, was the birthplace of Jonah, but even more noteworthy is Bethlehem. That's kind of an important place that we'll see later on, more so in the New Testament, but we do see it mentioned a few times in the Old Testament as well, and it's involved in some very interesting events. The book of Joshua. 1917. The fourth lot fell to Issachar, to its people according to their families. 1918. Their territory included Jezreel, Chesuloth, Shunem. 1919. Hapharim, Shion, Anaharath. 1920. Rabith, Kishion, Ebez. 1921. Ramoth, En Ganim, En Hadah, and Beth Pazez. 1922. The boundary reached to Tabor, Shahazmath, and Beth Shemesh, and ended at the Jordan. 60 cities with their villages. 1923. This is the inheritance of the tribe of Issachar, according to their families, the cities and their villages. So now that we have finished Issachar, we're going to move on to the next tribe, which is the tribe of Asher. This may not necessarily be the most exciting thing in the world, but we are going line by line and we're not skipping anything. So let us continue. The book of Joshua. 1924. The fifth lot fell to the tribe of Asher according to their families. 1925. Their territory included Helkiah, Hali, Beten, Akshaph. 1926. Alamelech, Ahmed, and Miskal, and on the west it touched Carmel and Shihor Libnath. 1926. Then it turned eastward to Beth Dagon, touching Zebulun and the valley of Iphath-el, northward to Beth Emek and Neel, and continued north to Kabbalah. 1928. Ebron, Rehob, Hamon, and Kanah, even to populous Sidon. 1929, then the boundary turned to Ramah, reaching to the fortified city of Tyre, and it turned to Hosha, and ended at the sea, Mahalab, Akzib. 1930, Umayyah, Aphek, and Rehob, 22 cities with their villages. 1931, this is the inheritance of the tribe of Asher, according to their families, these cities with their villages. Some cities that stuck out to me from that previous grouping were Tyre and Sidon, and we're going to see a lot more of them in the New Testament, but I think they are mentioned a few times in the Old Testament as well. And the next lot, of course, is going to Naphtali, and we'll be looking at that grouping next. The Book of Joshua. 1932. The sixth lot fell to the tribe of Naphtali, according to their families. 1933. Their boundary ran from Halaf, from the oak in Zanananium, and Adamai Nekeb, and Jabneel, as far as Lakum, and ended at the Jordan. 1934, then the boundary turned westward to Azanoth Tabor, and went from there to Hukhok, touching Zebulun on the south, Asher on the west, and Judah on the east at the Jordan. 1935, the fortified cities included Zidium, Zer, Hamath, Rakath, Chinerath. 1936, Adamah, Ramah, Hazor. 1937, Kadesh, Idrai, En Hazor. 1938, Yiron, Migdal El, Horem, Beth Anath, and Beth Shemesh, 19 cities and their villages. 1939, this is the inheritance of the tribe of Naphtali, according to their families, the cities and their villages. Well, there certainly were names there of places. And the next and final lot goes to the tribe of Dan, and we'll be looking at that one next. The Book of Joshua. 1940, and the seventh lot fell to the tribe of Dan, according to their families. 1941, the territory of their inheritance included Zorah, Ishtaol, Irshimesh. 1942, Sheilabin, Aijalon, Iflah. 1943, Elon, Timnah, Ekron. 1944, Eltikan, Gibbethon, Baalath. 1945, Jehud, Bene Barak, Gath, Raimon. 1946, Mijakon, and Rakon with the territory before Joppa. 1947, the territory of the tribe of Dan had to be extended because of the crowding in the Amorites and Philistines. So the sons of Dan went up to fight against Leshem, Laish, and took it and smote it with the sword, and possessed it, and dwelt there. And they called Leshem, Laish, Dan, after Dan, their forefather. So we're going to see these events described right here in the book of Judges, which is not very far from here, so it shouldn't be too long till we get there. And we'll see exactly how that plays out. The book of Joshua. 1948. This is the inheritance of the tribe of Dan, according to their families, these cities with their villages. So that marks the end of the division of the inheritance when it comes to ascertaining which tribes take which portion of land. I have mentioned this previously, that it's best to look at a map of the book of Joshua. There's several online, and they can kind of put some of these things into perspective. And the thing that's interesting is that they take possession of this land, but then as time goes on and events happen and transpire, things change. And you look at modern Israel, and they don't really have anywhere near the amount of land that is described here. The book of Joshua. 1949. When they had finished dividing the land for inheritance by their boundaries, the Israelites gave an inheritance among them to Joshua, son of Nun. 1950. According to the word of the Lord, they gave him the city for which he asked, Timnath Serah, in the hills of Ephraim, and he built the city and dwelt in it. So after all the inheritance is sorted out and they figure out which tribe is getting which portion of land, we see that there is a special inheritance for Joshua, son of Nun, the one that this book is named after, the one who has been leading the Israelites since Moses has slept with his father, since Moses has died. And he is receiving this particular city here as his inheritance for him and his descendants. The book of Joshua. 1951. These are the inheritances which Eleazar, the priest, Joshua, son of Nun, and the heads of the fathers' houses of the tribes of Israel distributed by lot in Shiloh before the Lord at the door of the tent of meeting. So they finished dividing the land. So this gets back to where we were originally. They set up the tabernacle, they sent the scouts out, they scouted out the land, and they had notebooks with the mapping information in it. And then in the presence of the Lord, they drew lots and figured out who got which portions of land. And this is just a conclusion of that event. And this is the end of this chapter. We are getting towards the end of the book of Joshua, and we have some very interesting things to cover in it before this book ends.